Season 1 is all about that dental school student or that new dental school grad or that transitioning dentist, pretty much giving the financial keys to success now that you're in a transition period, right? There's a lot of new things, there's a lot of ambiguity, and we want to provide clarity. So if that sounds like you, or if you know anybody that is currently in that phase of life, go ahead and share this with them. And we cannot wait to provide value so that you can transition well, learn, grow, and be ready to take on this new phase of life here at the Generational Dental Wealth Show. So let's go and hop into this episode, and we hope that you enjoy it.
Welcome to the Generational Dental Wealth Podcast. My name is Dr. Jermaine Ifedi.
My name is Kingsley Ifedi, CPA.
Man, we have a fun conversation for everybody today.
Yeah.
We're going to be introducing Generational Dental Wealth Office Hours. Talk to us about it a little bit, Kingsley.
Office hours is something that we wanted to bring to the world because we don't ever want to be a show that's out of touch with the people who listen, right? We identified, a need and pretty much how we can solve that need. And that's pretty much talking directly to those individuals that are consuming our show. So we wanted to specifically tailor it to their needs. But before we hop into that, just want to talk about last week as far as the fantasy football league and some different things like that. Go ahead and drop it down. We don't want to hop straight into it.
We had a good time, man.
Yeah.
It's honestly, we have 10 couples in our fantasy football league. And
Yeah.
we get to not only bond over fantasy football, but it's actually a time for us to be able to bounce business ideas off of everybody. Right?
Yeah.
And in that group, we have individuals who are entrepreneurs who are currently running businesses, as well as individuals who are aspiring entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So within this league, again, if it's 10 couples, we have 20 minds that are able to bounce ideas off of one another. And this just goes back into it's the importance of building your table.
Exactly.
It's fine to look on, Instagram or Facebook and say, you know what, I wish I was a part of that group. But I'm gonna be honest with you. There are a lot of superheroes in your friend group that go unrecognized every single day. There are individuals who pour into you, people who are super fans of you, who root for you all the time. But unfortunately, since they're so close to you, they get overlooked. And I want to tell everybody here, listen, the celebrities in your life are not the ones that you see on IG, right? Or the ones who are on movies. The true celebrities in your life are the ones like Kingsley. Kingsley's to be here, and to help record this on a weekly basis and put it out, man, and just to see your growth and your progression, bro. Yeah. You're a celebrity to me. You're a superhero to me, man. Awesome. We got to get to that point where regular people in our lives are not just regular people. Yeah, they are celebrities in our lives, man. So I'm so excited about the fantasy football league. Yeah. I'm playing him this week. So I shouldn't be talking to him, but blood oversees something.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. But hopping into the episode today, like we alluded to, this is our office hours episode. We pretty much wanted to go ahead and get some Q&As and some different questions that are applicable to you. So we wanted to go ahead and start reading those off. You want to start with the first one, Doc?
Yeah, I'm so excited about these office hours. It's going to be a good time. Just think about when you were in college, right? Yeah. You had some specific type questions that you felt like were not answered in class.
Exactly.
You thought to yourself, if I get a little bit more clarity on this, everything else is going to open up. And that's what this is about, right? This is to go a little bit deeper than what we're able to go into in certain episodes to make sure that we get certain points driven home. Awesome. So we get questions all the time, and anybody here, we recommend you, if you have any questions, you can DM us and our personal IGs, and that's Dr. MBA LLC for me.
And mine is at Kingsley Ifedi.
So if you have any questions, DM us, send us voice messages. We're also going to be dropping on our stories every now and then a tag where you can input your questions so we can make sure we get your questions answered. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and get started with the first question today.
Awesome.
So, Kingsley, Dr. Emily asks, I'm concerned about starting and setting up a retirement plan. What options are available to me as a dental professional?
Awesome. Well, great question, Dr. Emily. The first thing that we always sit down and figure out is, where are you in your progression as a dentist or as a professional? Okay. Right? If you're a new dental grad, or you're just starting out on your work, my advice is maybe there are some steps that are a little bit more important or time sensitive than setting up a retirement plan. Okay. Not to go too much into the weeds of it, retirement plans are great. Don't get me wrong. It does set you up further down the road, but I want to look to make sure that your immediate needs are met. are you liquid enough? And all I mean by liquid meaning, do you have enough cash to sustain you in your new venture now as a dentist? Right? Do you have enough cash now to say, hey, if I want to move cities or if I want to purchase a home, to do those things that are a little bit more immediate, and then now ask, okay, after we've gotten these things set up for you, now let's start looking at retirement planning and different things like that. So I don't want to steal the reign too much. Doc, can you kind of explain some of the things that you've kind of done around this topic, right? If you're a new grad, which you were a few years ago, now trying to set up a retirement plan, and just your take on that. Yeah.
When it comes to retirement plans, honestly, one of the first conversations we had when we were in the planning is, number one, what is your long-term goal?
Exactly.
Right? If you know you want to stay with the corporation for 20 years, then it's going to be different than, you know what, I want to start a practice in 3 to 5 years. It's two completely different goals. So when we first sat down and set up my financial plan, the first thing you asked me was like, yo, how much time do you want to between now and when you want to open up your first practice? And we sat down, we had a conversation. You said, honestly, frankly, right now, retirement savings is not your number one priority. I still remember, it's not your number one priority. Yeah. The first priority you have right now is get as liquid as possible, build up as much cash as possible. And to me, mentally, that's kind of like mind-boggling because, again, I got my MBA. And when I'm going through my MBA program, you receive a lot of information that fits a majority of people.
Exactly.
And in that process, you're able to help a majority of people. But now that we're in this specific niche and we're talking to dentists, we're talking to dental students, we're going to have to attack things head on and realize that common information is not for dentists.
It's true.
Let's go ahead and break the myth now. What you hear as common knowledge is not the same for dentists. Most dental professionals are not working at the same dental office for 30 years, starting their career somewhere, ending their career somewhere, unless it's their dental practice. So therefore, how can we take the same piece of information, which is start your 401k from day one and build it out and just grind it out. And then when you retire, there's going to be a nice nest egg sitting there for you. Yeah. That strategy works, but it does not work in the same way that it will work in a common and a more similar job that is more blue collar, right? Yeah. It doesn't really work that same way. Yeah. So for dentists in particular, the number one goal when you're coming out in that first couple years is stay as liquid as possible. Yeah. Because realize money is not money when you're a new grad. It's not, money is not what we think about, hey, you can buy things with it. In reality, money when you're a new grad is change your mind insurance.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, all we mean by staying liquid is pretty much having as much flexibility as possible. Yes. Right? Because now that you're out in the real world, you have so many different changes coming down the pipeline. You don't even know where, like I said, in those first, I would say 5-ish years, life is changing rapidly. And one of the reasons as a financial professional, I always say the 401k or a retirement plan in general is not the most liquid place to be. Is number one, right? Taxes, and number two, access, right? When I speak about taxes, typically for you to withdraw from your retirement plan early, right, before a certain age, you get hit with a 10% penalty just for accessing the money that you already have, your hard-earned money that you placed inside of it. And on top of that 10% penalty, that money that you withdraw from your plan is now taxable income to you. So you get kind of hit on a double whammy. And in reality, right, the system is kind of set up to want to lock your money in as long as possible, right? Because that money is now invested into other vehicles for Wall Street and different things like that. That's a whole different conversation. And then the second thing, as far as access, is if you're not able to access that money that you placed away, what happens if now, right, you want to go purchase a practice? What happens now if you want to do some different investments or different things? You have to wait to a certain age to not even just to get the money back and not be penalized from it.
That's really good. And that's the information that when we first sat down, I mean, again, I'm bringing my MBA to the table. You're bringing your master's in accounting, and we're putting our minds together. And it's just like common knowledge tells you start your 401k as soon as possible. Yeah. But then when your goals don't align with the common knowledge you're getting, you're going to have to figure out and put them against each other and figure out which one should I take? Yeah. Which piece of advice should I take? So that's why we're saying that, listen, it's not a bad thing to start a 401k. But understand everything has its timing. Timing, exactly. Right? And one of the things that we always talk about is that an IRA, an individual retirement account, is a great way to practice how to save for retirement without having to be locked into the large amounts, right? IRA, the most you can put into it right now is a little bit less than 7,000 for us, right? But when it comes to a 401k, I mean, you could easily chip away $20,000 in there, right? But imagine how much $20,000 is before or after tax for someone in their first year who has moving expenses they need to cover, right? Who has to buy all the different insurances, malpractice insurance, disability insurance, for business owners, overhead insurance, like building insurance. You have to buy workers' compensation insurance. There's a lot of expenses coming up that if you take away your liquidity early, you're going to put yourself in a trap. So for a lot of dentists out there, unfortunately, when we're following common knowledge, we're becoming cash poor and asset rich. But early on in your career, you need to be cash rich as you build your asset accumulation.
So for Dr. Emily, what I want to drive home, I never want to have a question and give you the cons. Let me give you a pro, and let me just give you advice that I would do, and maybe an alternative to where you are right now. Maybe you look into an investment vehicle like a high yield savings account, right? Where in these days, right, we're recording this in late 2023. I mean, some high yield savings accounts are getting up to about 5%. I mean, that is literally outpacing real estate on some circumstances. That's outpacing the stock market, at least from a security standpoint, because high yield savings accounts are generally secure, meaning that if they say that you're going to get 5%, you're going to get that 5%. So there are some alternative ways to kind of stash away that money, and having a high yield savings account, you'll still be liquid, meaning you'll be able to access that capital at any point so that you can be as flexible as possible. Anything to add to that, Doc?
So, Dr. Emily, I'm agreeing 100%. It's not saying that retirement is a bad thing. Retirement is a fantastic thing. And everybody has to plan for retirement. Let's go ahead and drive that point across home. Everybody has to plan for a day where they will no longer be able to practice at the same rate as they did early on in their career. So what we're saying is there has to be a certain timing to certain things, right? Early on in your career, the number one priority is, as far as financially, is to accumulate as much and save as much as possible, because things change so dynamically.
Exactly.
Right. There's, again, the same statistic that over 80% of people change their job within the first 2 years. So when you got life changes, you got business changes, you got things are changing, you're getting married, a lot of things are occurring. But if you don't have cash, it's going to be hard to do the certain things that you need to do. So when it comes to the retirement, there's always, if you're a healthy saver, practice that muscle by putting away smaller amounts, maybe $500, $1,000 a month, right? Just so you have that habit already built up. So by the time you do have your emergency or safety fund, whatever you would like to term it, after you have that saved up, now you already have the muscle flex that, okay, I put money away every single month. And then as things get put away, you can now increase those amounts.
Awesome.
You just don't want to put your money too much away before you need it, because you need that change your mind insurance. Can you love the point that you brought up with that high yield savings account? I mean, they're getting crazy amounts right now. So ride out these waves as best as you can. And guess what's about to start back up?
What?
Student loan payments are about to start back up. So let's add that on top of everything else. If you're contributing more to the 401k, then you're taking care of your financial obligations. You're just setting yourself up for a tough time.
Awesome. Let's see if we can get in another one.
All right.
Let's do it. If you are listening to this via audio, there is a video format. We actually shoot these live in studio on video format. You can check those out either on Spotify podcasts, which I know some people don't have. If you don't have that, then YouTube podcasts as well. Head to our Team Financials YouTube page. You'll be able to find all of these different podcast shows within the video format. Awesome. So our next question comes from Dr. James. He's out of New York. He's asking, student loan payments are about to start again. He's trying to figure out how he should budget and how he should go about it, because he hasn't had to do it the last few years. Hey, Dr. Freddie, can you speak to that?
First of all, I'm going to back things up a little bit, just because we have to first understand about these student loans, right? We're going to attack how to get these things paid. Number one, students who have graduated across the last 3 years if you have only public loans, you have never paid a loan payment unless you chose to. Since the pandemic happened in about March 2020, there has been an initiative saying that all public loans have been 0% and payments are not due. So therefore, you're talking about the class of 2020, class of 2021, class of 2022, and now the class of 2023 have never really seen what it looks like to pay on student loans. So what happens if your life has now lived up to the top of it needs to be, but you forgot I have $200,000-$300,000 of loans that I need to be paying on? That's going to drastically change the way your months go, right? So again, I'm not sure about anybody's financial, how much they owe, but good practices when it comes to paying down the student loans. Number one, you need to get very clear on what your responsibility is, right? You got to get clear on what's going to be the monthly payment. Do you want to pay on a 10-year? Do you want to pay on a 20, a 30-year? Like, how do you plan on going about this thing, right? For most people, they're probably going to pay on a 10-year schedule, okay? Unless they want to push it out as long as possible to try to get some forgiveness. But for dentists, to be honest, unless it's an astronomical amount, you're probably going to be paying it off on an incremental standpoint. So for Mr. James, I'll be telling you, number one, get clear on how much your monthly payment is. Right? Number two, you need to start preparing now. Prepare now. Start chipping, putting some money away. And I would say put a little bit more than what the actual amount is. For instance, if it tells you that you have to pay $1,000 a month, mentally, I would say go ahead and start putting away $1,200 because that extra $200 is going to start now accumulating. So now at the end of the year, guess what? If you have $1,000 a month for 12 months and you're putting away an extra $200, and I don't want to get too mathematical, but $200 extra a month for 12 months now builds up $2,400. Now you have now put away 2 extra payments on the side. So now when it's Christmas time and you want to splurge, guess what? You've already paid your Christmas ahead of time. Now you can have those funds for yourself. Or what happens if a financial difficulty, somebody is out their job?
Yeah.
Now you already have the extra funds necessary to pay that student loan debt. So the biggest thing is, again, get clear on how much you need to pay. And if you can't afford it now, do this responsibly, then put a little bit extra away. So now you have that kind of financial freedom. Now, last but not least, you need to now start looking at the different options when it comes to consolidation. Because again, before everything was 0%, but now things are about to kick back to the regular percentage. So you might need to go ahead and consolidate all your different loans and put them into a correct payment method to get things handled. But that's from a student perspective and a doctor perspective. But let me ask you this, Kingsley, from a tax perspective, because you see this on people's tax returns. What are some things people can be doing, or what are some things some people should be conscientious of as they're putting money away for their student loans?
Yeah. So typically, this is just general advice. When it comes to taxes, typically each year you'll get a 1098-E, which typically is a form that you'll get from that agency, whoever you're paying for that student loan interest. Typically, like I said, it's a blanket rule. Obviously, there's limitations to this. Typically, it can be tax deductible on your taxes. Now, I wouldn't expect this to save the day, right? But it is something that the government notices, and I believe maybe trying to do something to combat this. The second thing is, you have to remember that, like we said earlier, timing, right? The goal isn't to pay it all in one day, and the goal isn't to pay it over 50 years. We have to find that sweet spot where the interest expense that's accumulating is not getting to the point where it is astronomical. Right, where it's literally you're just paying down interest. I mean, you're paying interest. You're not even paying down what you actually owe, right? Because not to get too technical, but interest is just the amount that you pay on top of your principal for the fact that you borrowed that. So it's not actually paying down the amount that you owe. So we just want to get really clear on how much are you paying interest, how much are you paying down in the actual loan, which we call principal, right? Because people can get to the point where you're making these monthly payments, but it's barely anything, if anything, going down to paying the loan. Everything's going to interest. So a financial professional really just sitting down and just analyzing where are you out in that time scale will give you a clearer picture on what your payments are actually doing each month.
That's very, very important.
Yeah.
That in dentistry, it used to be common knowledge. It used to be honestly a competition between people that what's the quickest I can pay down my student loan? That does not work anymore. If that's your goal, then perfect. I would say definitely consult with a financial professional to make sure that that's actually a financially best decision for yourself. But for a lot of people are debt averse and they just want to feel like it's off of them. Like that debt is gone. But in reality, for a lot of people, again, just like we talked about earlier, it's about your goals.
Exactly.
Like, sit down with somebody and help figure out what are your financial goals. Do you want to move into ownership in the future? Do you want to now save for retirement? Do you want to be able to travel more? Like do you want to invest in another business, alternative investments? What do you want to do? Once you figure that out, now you can determine, okay, how quickly do I need to pay these student loans off? Do I want to pay it on 10-year? Do I want to try to push it out as long as I can because I work for the school, which is a nonprofit, and I want to get some forgiveness involved?
Exactly.
Like, how do you want to go about this? So again, when it comes to the liquidity question, because this honestly is very similar to the first question that we discussed, And you don't want to put all your liquidity towards student debt when you need it for your life. Because honestly, it's more of a financial trap than a 401k is, because you can still pay a penalty and get the money out. If you put your money towards your student loans, there's no getting that money back. So let's say for your student debt, you have $100,000 in student debt, and you have $80,000 saved up, and you put that whole $80,000 to try to pay down your student debt. Number one, guess what? You still have $20,000 left. And now number two, you've given away all your liquidity, money that could have been used for a down payment on a home, down payment on a practice, on all these different life events. But what happens when an emergency comes up and you need $20,000 back? You can't go back to your debt servicer and ask, hey, can I get $20,000 back on the money I gave you last month? That's not how it works. Once it's in the system, it's gone.
Exactly.
Because that's debt that was already owed. You're not doing them a favor by paying early.
Yeah.
Right? So don't put yourself into a financial stronghold by overpaying before you can afford to pay. Right? The goal is you have to have a healthy balance between all your financial responsibilities.
Exactly.
It's not to just think, hey, if I make $150,000 a year, I can buy a $150,000 home, or I can pay $150,000 in student debt, or I can put $150,000 towards my 401k. You got to start breaking that down into monthly increments and figure out all your different responsibilities you need to handle. So for James, the biggest thing for you is, number one, figure out how much the monthly is. Number two, pay a little bit extra if you can. I wouldn't recommend anything higher than 20 to 25%. Then number three, you just have to start the plan. Get in a plan with somebody. Again, if you need to talk to Kings or you need to talk to something, get a second set of eyes on your plan before you initiate it, because that can save you a lot of headache.
Yeah, and I'm right with you, Doctor. And I think the biggest thing, like we talked about, is having a plan, having a strategy. That is better than having no strategy and just eyeballing it. And like you said, having that trusted financial professional, whoever that is, to kind of guide you through that, right, would really, in my opinion, decrease the I guess nervousness and decrease the anxiety around all of these financial changes that's going on. So Dr. Emily and Dr. James, we appreciate the questions. Awesome. So if you're a dental student, if you're a new dental grad, or if you're a transitioning dentist, we want to hear from you, getting your question answered on the next office hour. So go ahead and either DM me on Instagram at Kingsley Affetti
or Dr. MD LLC.
And we would love to answer your question next. Can't wait to see you soon.
Take care. Peace.